I've been playing for about 16 years. Growing up, I grew up on music that was on the radio. I got my first boombox from my uncle when I was about 10 years old, and would fall asleep listening to the radio. And basically grew up on pop music that was on the radio. And when I was about 14 or so, I started getting into punk rock, NoFX, Rancid, those kind of bands. And when I was 14 going on 15, I got my first drum set. So it wasn't until I moved down to Detroit that I really started, playing jazz and going to every jazz club that I could. I'm from Traverse City, and living in Traverse City, there's no jazz open mics. There was a great gig, a jazz gig at a bar that I used to go to every Monday night for free. And that was a really great gig, but it wasn't a jam. So until I came down here, I didn't really have an opportunity to play jazz, and so I went to every one that I could. I went down to Baker's, I went down to Birds in Eastern Market. I went to the Buzz Bar when that was still around, and it was there that I met a lot of the big players in Detroit on the jazz scene, and just really began to open up as a player, and just I went from sort of like a rigid style of playing, because I was very into Neil Peart, and I tried to kind of emulate Neil Peart and Rush. Wanted my playing to be very precise, and just when I came down here and started playing jazz, I just really opened it up, and started listening to more. I was always into hip hop, but I started listening to Radiohead, and when I was in Traverse City, and just things are more groove oriented and less chops oriented. And so I kind of try to combine all of that. That's always kind of been my whole approach to playing, is just having extremes and dynamics, and knowing when to put, loud parts to make them loud and soft parts to make them soft. And being an artist, I do black and white drawing. Also, I'm into black and white photography, and from there you can see real, extremes and lights and darks, and that's kind of how I approach, my whole approach to playing is just extremes, and also filling in the extremes with areas of gray. And try to do that musically. And now my whole approach is even when I had a good idea for a fill, Steve Ferroni had a quote that he said, when I have an idea for a fill when I'm playing, I don't play it. And he's always serving the song, and he's such a good groove. And that's one of the keys to maturity as a player, is not just to show what you can do. It's sometimes showing what you can do is not playing everything that you can play in a phrase. And sometimes it's just sitting back and supporting the band. And there's times to really, tear into a fill and, really go into a chorus and really accentuate different ideas. One of the things that I like to do is I'll if I'm doing a regular pop song, going into each chorus or going back from the verse, I'll sort of build up my fills and make them more progressive as I go along, as the song goes along, so that the last push into the chorus or the outro is really, I'm really tearing a big phrase in there. Again, I really get from different pop drummers. I noticed a lot, like Stu Copeland would do that in play songs, and he would kind of build on ideas and build on the fills as he went along. Early on, I was really into Smashing Pumpkins, Jimmy Chamberlain. A lot of his playing is very influential on mine with the open hi-hat, and the hi-hat pulse that he would have going on. Also the way that he uses crashes, especially the way they're recorded, like on Siamese Dream, and just very washy, and he does a lot of what I call cymbal swishes instead of just hitting down on the down. He's he's doing that kind of a swishes between a couple of cymbals, 2 or 3 cymbals, sometimes at a time. And that whole approach to cymbal playing has always stayed with me. As far as my sound, I always wanted to have just a real crisp, almost biting kind of a snare, kind of the early to mid 90s sound, that, especially the sound that Tim Herb Alexander got on Pork Soda, just the nuances that you could pick up from the snare and the different tones that you got out of it. And also just the real, the good sound that he got from his kick drum and the toms, and just the whole album really just kind of influenced my drum sound. I kind of patterned my sound after that for quite a long time. And then recently I started working with Saluda cymbals. And I used to use Zildjian Customs, the projection cymbals. And I really did like those for a time, but I really just had a different sound in my head. I started, getting into more jazz, definitely the Tony Williams type of sound. That type of sound, just with more wash, darker, mature tone, darker tone. And I was able to design something very special, customized with Saluda cymbals. And very, very, very happy with the product. I recently went with Crush Drums. The Sublime Maple kit sounds amazing live or in the studio. And, just any type of dynamic drummer that really, the drums sound good, the playing is good, just to drop names, Stuart Copeland, Vinnie Colaiuta. I met Chester Thompson when I was down in PAS. Guys like Kenny Arnoff in the studio. Definitely Gavin Harrison is a definite new influence on me. He's really amazing. And, so just, and I'm always picking up influences, even from non-drummers, Jaco Pastorius was a huge influence on me. Miles Davis, as a trumpet player, a huge influence on me. Just people that are good musicians, even good, violinists, sax players, things like that. I'm totally influenced by music, by life, by people, by everything.